This program has been made possible by the friends and partners of Perspective.
Greetings, friends. Welcome today to Perspective. As usual, we're thankful that you let us in your homes to talk with you a little bit, share with you, and we are also thankful that you call us and share your perspective with us. We pray together, we share together, and don't forget, I'm depending on you to partner with me. So when you call, say, I want to partner with Dr. Baxter on Perspective, to keep this conversation going, to keep this show on the air and to keep us coming to you week after week. We appreciate you. God bless you. As usual, we take a look at all sides of the issue. And we look at many different issues and we talk about them and we see where you fit in. And many people have been blessed. Many people have seen another side to their story, a side that they didn't see. Many people have looked on the negative side at all times, not even realizing that there is a positive side to the same story. And that's why we come to you with perspective. It all depends on how you look at it. Because what the enemy meant for evil, you can find a whole lot of good in it when you are dealing with God. So God bless you. It's good to be with you today. We're going to be coming right back with a special guest, and you're going to be elated today as I return with my guest. But in the meantime, please do watch this, and I'll be right back.
Whatever the season of your life, no matter the circumstances, God is there to take you through it. In Apples of Gold, Dr. Al Baxter shares divinely inspired excerpts from his messages to help you rediscover God's love and comfort in challenging times. Apples of Gold is available now. Call 416-650-9550 and get your copy today.
Welcome back. You're on Perspective. I'm your host, Dr. Al Baxter, and I did promise you just before the break that I have a special guest for you today. Some of you have watched this great man of God on television around the world. You've watched him sometimes on Ben Hinn. You've watched him on different shows. Well, we're fortunate. We are blessed to be having him right here in Faith Miracle Temple in Toronto. And this is none other than my son, my friend, Bishop John Francis. Bishop Francis, welcome.
Bless you, sir.
I appreciate you.
Thank
Before I tell you what we're going to be talking about and have Bishop Francis talk to you a little bit, let me just tell you a little bit about him. Here's a young man that God has raised up in England, and he has taken the world by storm. He yielded himself to God. He did not come in with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. He said, Lord, here I am. Whatever you're doing in this season, don't do it without me. And God took him up on the word, and God had made him bigger than life size, not only in England, but around the world. He's a well sought after guest speaker, a man that is anointed to heal the sick and to do the work of the ministry with signs and wonders and miracles. And God has blessed him beyond his wildest dream because he has yielded to God. He experienced what Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all his righteousness, and all of the things shall be added to you. And God has been adding to him more than his share. And God will add to you too more than your share, more than you can handle, because the Bible said God will open the window of heaven, pour you out a blessing that you have not room to receive it. Bishop Francis?
Yes, sir.
It is such a pleasure to have you with me here in Toronto. My heart is overflowing with joy. It's been a long time.
Yes, thank you.
But I watch your ministry and I see what God has been doing with you and for you. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time out to come by here today. And I want you and I to talk a little bit to my viewers about transition.
Yeah.
Transition. And we were talking a little bit earlier, and some of the things you said intrigued me.
Yes.
Because it's obvious that you're very versed on the subject of transition, that is passing on legacy from one generation to another, from one person to another, or just going from one place to another. I like a transition that takes you upward so that
Yes.
you're better than you were before. You go further than where you have gone before. And you know much about transition. I'm going to kind of get out of your way a little bit and let you talk to my viewers about transition.
Transition is important. Transition is simply a continuation of a thing.
Yes.
Whenever God does something, he starts, but he is a God that continues from one generation to the next
Yes.
generation. When it comes to blessings, he wants to bless one generation after the next. Where there's no transition, there's no passing of a baton, there's no continuation. It means something stops
Yes.
where it should have been able to continue.
Yes, sir.
Transition is something that sometimes people find difficult, especially in the church, especially when people have been given power. Power is a wonderful thing, but a very dangerous thing.
Yes, yes.
And when people have a level of power and they don't understand that power is not to control people, but to bring people into a place of understanding and to help them with transition of what's been passed to the person of power
Yes.
to be dispersed.
Yes.
One of the things I was saying to you, and several things running in my mind when we're talking about transition, unfortunately, people of color have problems with transition.
Yes.
You will notice that a lot of our black churches, we have great leaders, and sometimes the ministry grows so well, and when the preacher dies, the ministry dies with the preacher. Simply because we've not thought about how will this ministry continue. And a lot of times, as people of color, we live for today rather than our future.
Yes. Yes.
I was saying to you, I think some of that problem comes from slavery.
Yes, you did say that.
Yeah, because in slavery, one of the things, we never had anything. And when we did get something, we tried to hold on to it. So what that spirit now comes into our everyday now as people of color, we believe that when we get something, it's not gonna last. So we try to hold on to it.
Yes, yes.
And not realize when you hold on to something, it dies. It's like currency. You know, money is currency. A money that stays in a country, affects what we call the economy.
Of course.
Currency comes from the word water flowing. It means it has to keep running.
Yes.
Money has to keep flowing from one person to the next.
Wow.
If it doesn't,
Yes.
like currency, what happens if a water's not flowing, everything in that water will die.
You bet.
And that's what the enemy wants to do with a lot of us. He doesn't want us to continue. He doesn't want us to do this transitional thing,
Yes.
this legacy thing, because he wants us to die. He wants what God has given us to die. Now, a thing that God gives us, when he gives us power, when he gives us blessings, the blessings becomes more potent
Yes.
when it's continued.
Of course.
Because, for example, you look at me, my father was a bishop. My great-grandfather was a deacon. He was in ministry. I was told that he was a walking Bible. He couldn't read or write, but somehow
Yes,
he
I
knew
know
the
those
Bible
men.
and he could tell you where things were in the Bible.
Yes.
My dad became a preacher and a great preacher.
Yes, of course.
Now I've become a preacher.
You bet. And a very great preacher,
Well,
of
and
course.
what should happen is that transition should get better and
Yes.
greater because what I am doing is carrying the legacy,
Amen.
the information, the anointing
Yes.
from that's of old. So when you hear me, you should be hearing my grandfather, you should be hearing my father,
Yes.
you should be hearing also my spiritual father,
Yes.
anyone that has imparted to me, because it's a part of transition. Now, here's one of the things that we don't do very well. Just look in from a political perspective. If you look at every country that has a black leader,
Yes.
especially in Africa, one of the challenges when they get into power, they try to hold on to the power. Again, as I said, that's a part of the slavery.
Yes.
Because again, they feel if I hold on to power, I will be great. And greatness is about not just you, but your children's children.
Amen.
Do you remember God pronounced a blessing? He said, Abraham, I'm going to bless you. But what we forget, the blessing wasn't just about Abraham, it was about his seed.
Yes, yes, yes.
God is always thinking transition. He's always thinking, if I'm going to bless someone, I'm going to start with a man. But when God looks, he doesn't look at just one man. He looks at everything that man is carrying. It called seed.
Amen.
And so he wants that transition to go from one generation to next generation. But the enemy wants to cut that off.
Yes. Transition. That's what we're talking about today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a church family that will embrace you with open arms? Visit Faith Miracle Temple for an awesome time in the presence of the Lord.
Don't let anybody define you. Define yourself. Be good at all times. Be the best you can be at all times. Love people. Help people. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Sunday service at 10:30 a.m. Prayer and Bible studies on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. and our family night on Fridays at 7:30 p.m. 280 Yorkland Boulevard, North York. Call 416-650-9550 or visit betterlifeoutreach.org.
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
Bishop, I really am appreciative of what you're saying. And it's quite deep,
Yeah.
what you're saying. Let me ask you this. What are the benefits, generally speaking,
Yeah.
of transition, passing on to the next, be it generation or whatever, but transition,
The benefits are simply this: continuation.
continuation?
If something is not passed on,
Yes.
if you do not pass on the knowledge you have
Yes.
to a next generation, they will suffer and have to start all over again. A lot of us are starting all over again because someone did not tell us
Yes,
what
sir.
they should have told us to make the job more easy for us.
That's right. That's
See, for example, now my daughter's preaching and everybody's like, oh gosh, she sounds like you.
Hallelujah.
Now, the truth of the matter is, my daughter is carrying on a legacy. She's hearing me preach.
Yes.
She's taking on my style, but she's learning from me. But it's important for me, and I said to her, look, you're young. I says, you're the age 25, 26. I says, I started Ruach at her age.
Yes.
At her age, I was pastoring a church. I said to her, darling, that's no pressure, but I'm just saying that to you.
That's right. That's
But what I'm trying to let her understand is what church is all about, what church life.
Sure.
Because she's enjoying preaching, she's going on these different platforms and preaching.
Wow.
But there's coming these challenges now that
Yes.
she's dealing with. And I'm letting her know it's normal. And I've had to remind her of things I've been through and explain to her.
Yes.
The other day I had my youth pastors and I said to them, I want you to come to my trustee meetings. These are youth pastors. They're in charge of the youth in the church. And I invited them to the trustee. The trustee meeting is where we do all the business, they understand.
Of course.
And they got an opportunity to see everyone around the table, what they do, what part they play. Our chairman, the person that deals with finance committee, the people that deals with properties, the people that deals with administration, and they were sitting down and getting a perspective. And they came back to me and said, Bishop, thank you for allowing us to come. He says, you know what, we didn't like the trustees. We saw them as an enemy. Because every time we're trying to do something in the ministry, we kept hearing the trustees. And the first time they got a perspective, what it takes to run a mega church like Ruach. Now we have thousands of members. We have mega properties. We have bills. Our bills per month can be somewhere between 100 and something £1,000.
Wow.
So I don't know what they translate in Canadian money.
1.5 times.
Yes, that's just bills that we have to pay. And when you're talking about balancing and budgeting, now they just want to have church. They just want to have a good time. But there's another side.
You bet.
And now what I'm doing is letting them be exposed to things.
That's right.
Not when I'm gone.
That's right.
Because that's a part of transition.
Yes.
I'm now teaching you, this is what it takes to run a ministry. This is what it looks like. And I think that a lot of times we expect people to know stuff. We expect people to just, okay, we've ordained you, now follow me, watch what I'm doing. Sometimes you have to literally hand the baton.
Yes, sir.
You know, it comes from a relay.
That's right. Yes.
We run the race to a point, and then we take a baton and we hand it to you.
Yes,
and it's
sir.
clear. And that's another thing that happens. People don't know after the leader dies, who's really supposed to be in charge? Who's supposed to do what?
That's right.
We should make it clear what we need you to do. You know, I was preaching tonight at your church about Zachariah, and the son that he had was John.
That's right.
The Bible says that when John was born, Zachariah, and a lot of people don't know, prophesied over his son. He said, you will be a voice crying in the wilderness, preparing the way of the Lord.
Yes.
It was Zachariah who told his son, that's a part of transition.
Yes.
He says, look, I am a priest, but your assignment is a voice crying in the wilderness, you be preparing the way of the Lord.
Fantastic.
A lot of times we don't recognize our job, even of our own children. A part of transition, a part of legacy is to tell our children who they will be.
Yes, sir.
How could you tell them? Because you know life.
Yeah.
You've been through life.
That's
you
right.
should know your child's potential. You know, let's look at it this way. When I think it was in the Bible, we look Solomon.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that Solomon asked for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. But what they forget, when you read the Bible, David said to him, David, you're young and you're tender.
Solomon, you're young.
Sorry. David said that to Solomon, you're young and you're tender. And he said, in order for you to lead these people, you're going to need wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It was David that told him and said, no, when God asks you, when he asks you, you must ask for this.
Yes.
So when God said to him, what do you want? He says, I want wisdom. It was his dad told him.
Put that in there. And that's a part of transition.
That's a part of transition. You can't get wisdom unless God. Any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God. God gives it. So he knew what his son needed. He said, this is what you need. Because there's some things you can't give the next generation, but you can point them to it.
So how about this generation that we are into today, the younger generation that feel that they have it packed down good, they know what they want, they're not about to listen to daddy or anybody elder over them, they know what they want. What do you make of that? What do you say to them?
We're in a terrible time in terms of, I call it the Google generation.
Yes, of course.
What do I mean by the Google generation? The Google generation is basically, I can Google and give you the answer. I can give you the answer. Here's the problem with Google. You might be giving me the answer. Okay, but you don't know. Okay. Knowledge means to know and to be at one with the information. When you Google something, what you have done is taken someone's research.
Of course.
Taken someone. Now, remember years ago, when we wanted to find out something, we had encyclopedias. You looked at one thing, looked at another thing before you come to a conclusion. Google's not coming to no encyclopedia. You're getting a person
Yes.
viewpoint,
Yes.
not many viewpoint.
That's right.
So you don't really know. You've been informed, but you don't know. And the problem is, how can you tell a generation that although you've given the answer, you don't know?
You don't know.
Because knowing comes through a process.
Yes.
Knowing comes through trial and error.
Yes.
Knowing comes
In other
through
words, you have the
mistakes
experience.
and experience.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
sir.
So this challenge with this internet, we are in a big problem.
Yes.
But one of the things what we've got to do is still fight for this generation. One of the things I do with my children, I say, now listen to me. I know you are articulate. I know you are smart. I know that you know things. I know you can find out information. But I tell you one thing that Google cannot tell you is experience.
Experience. You're listening to Bishop John Francis of Ruach Ministries. This has become an international ministry, but Bishop John himself is a worldwide figure that travels the world and brings clarity to obscure issues. And he's talking to us today about transition, how to move from one generation to another, from one place to another, or how to keep what we've got flowing so that what you've got, what I've got, will not die. Transition. He has explained that if we do not pass it on, if there is no transition, it dies. And think about you, my friend. You may have gone to school, to university. You may have done such great studies of one thing or another, and it dies with you. No good. Pass it on. Transition. That's what we're talking about today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Bishop Al Baxter has written some amazing books to equip you with the right tools for your journey. Call to order your copy of I Decree That, Life and Times of the Man Called Jesus Christ, Philosophy of Pastoral Ministry, Apples of Gold, and How to Live a Stress-Free Life. Call 416-650-9550 or visit betterlifeoutreach.org.
We are here with Bishop John Francis of Ruach Ministries from England. Bishop John,
Yes.
I'm sure that a lot of people have been intrigued. They have not thought about it the way you've said it before, so they just go on nonchalantly so that each person find their way out. But the way you're saying it here, I believe every parent out there is now getting ready to pass on their experience to their generation, to the generation. Say the last thing.
We were talking about and the challenge that we're having, because as you're talking about parents passing on, and there's a generation that finds it difficult to communicate with the next generation. As I said, Google has messed this generation up because there's a generation that think they know. I call them the Google generation.
Of course.
Because knowing is not about being informed.
That's right.
Knowing is to be at one with the information. It means you have experienced something. You have did the research kind of thing.
Right.
And the challenges that that we are having is that there's a generation that can speak well, that is informed but don't know. I'll give an example. The Bible talks about experience, and experience teaches wisdom.
Yes.
And one of the challenges I remember, I had bought a house, and I was trying to get my house heating set up, and they had just put a new code in the UK that everyone who does with heating had to have a qualification.
Okay.
And so I got this guy to come in, and he was trying to sort my heating, and day one I had no heating, day two I had no heating, day three I kept saying, what's going on? He says, it's coming. And I was like, gosh, day four, no heating. And I said, listen, I goes, how long you been doing this thing? He said to me, I just started, I just got qualified. I said, you just got qualified? He goes, yes, I'm qualified. heater engineer, and I was,
Yes.
and I said, but you've been trying to do this for days, and I'm still haven't got no heat. So I just said, you know what, I've had enough of this. So I went and called another guy who had no qualifications,
Okay.
but he had the experience.
Yes, sir.
Within a day,
Yes.
he had the heating working and everything working.
Powerful.
And I said to myself, now here's a problem. Here's a man who's qualified,
Yes.
who went through all of the academia,
You bet.
but has no experience
experience. I
whatsoever.
hear you.
And this guy
Yes, sir.
had not got the qualifications,
But he has the
but he had experience. And so even with that, and I'm not against qualifications by all
right,
means,
that's right.
get your qualifications, but
Yes.
to be qualified by paper does not mean.
But did you know, Bishop, that
Yes.
most places you go to look for a job,
Yeah.
even though you have your qualification,
They're not even looking. They're looking for
they're
what
looking
have
for
you done?
experience.
What have you
Amen.
done?
Yes,
What-
sir.
And so I think this generation needs to realize
Yes.
that it's not just about qualification.
It's about
It's
experience
about
also.
experience. It's
Yes,
about
sir.
you proven. And I think that's where we're failing.
Yes.
And so I would say to this generation that's listening to me, you need to connect with people
Yes.
who's been through stuff,
Yes.
who not just who's talking the talk,
That's right.
but who have been
Walk
through
the
stuff.
walk. Yes, sir.
And my belief is that everyone has something to pass on.
You betcha.
You know,
You betcha.
everyone. I don't care. I think
So-
if you don't look at people
Yes.
in a way to understand that they have lived longer than you, they have something. You know, whether it's good or bad, they have something to pass
You
on.
bet you. I believe that. And what you're saying there is found in the scriptures.
Yes.
It says, young man, I call upon
I
you
write to you.
because you're strong.
Yeah.
But it said,
Older man, I write to you because you know the way.
you know the way. You have
Yes.
experience.
And here is the combination that we need.
Yes.
The man who is strong
Thank you.
and the man who knows the
Working
way.
with the man who knows the way,
Yes.
then the transition is made until the one who knows the way is out of the way, but he passes on that knowledge to you so
Yes.
you can carry on.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
The enemy is really mad about transition. I think
Yes.
this is a subject that is very dear to my heart. And I think people need to really understand, whether in the church, whether in their family,
sir.
what have I got? What have I learned in life that I need to
Yes.
pass on? Another thing that's a problem, with, especially again, people of color, sorry to talk about our generation,
That's right.
we keep a lot of secrets.
True. True.
We were taught what's in this house stays in this house. And some of our pain
Yes.
needs to be explained.
I agree.
Pain is not a terrible thing. Pain is information.
Of course.
A mother does not bring forth a child unless there is pain. It is pain that pushes out the child
Yes,
into the
sir.
world. And a lot of times we think by hiding our pain, by lying about our pain,
Yes.
we then look good. But what we do is every time you suppress the pain, you kill the baby.
I hear you.
This generation needs to understand how you made mistake.
Have you taken a look at how important it is to pass on what you have achieved, what you have built up over the years? And no doubt some of it was built up in pains and sorrow, the bishop said, but when you pass on all of that, your generation, the younger generation, will also know how to deal with it as you have dealt with it, maybe even better. God bless you. Gotta go. Until next week, same time, same station. It is your friend and brother Al Baxter saying goodbye, friends.
Thank you for viewing our broadcast today. We hope you enjoyed today's program. For more information, visit us at www.perspectiveonline.org. You can also connect with us by liking our Facebook page at Perspective_broadcast. Follow us on Twitter at Perspective_BR and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Perspective Broadcast.